Good evening, folks. It is 5:30, and I'd like to call to order the Curriculum and Student Development Committee of the Madison Board of Education. I'm Stephen Penn, and I'm joined other members of the committee, Kathy Miller and Mary Ann Connolly, as well as our superintendent and Seth, who's head of the board. We have some interesting items on the agenda tonight, the culmination of a lot of work by a number of people. And at this point, I will turn it over to our Assistant Superintendent Gail to present the agenda.
Thank you so much, Mr. Penn, from the other end of the table. Usually we're at the same end, so this is a little weird. Thank you all for coming tonight. Everyone you see here are people who worked actively on some of the curricula that's being presented to you tonight. We'll do introductions as we go, so you'll know everybody in the room by the time we're done. And you'll also see 3 different models of curriculum leadership tonight. One, our first presentation for math is a coordinator, Carol Sullivan. Hello. And a coach, new coach this year, Ali Guazda. Hi. And they worked together at Polson School to do a refresh on the curriculum that was in mathematics. So this is 5 years after their initial curriculum. They've now worked with the teachers in a new program, Illustrative Math, which you've all heard about. And now they're coming to present curriculum work that the department has done around that new adoption. The second model you'll see is a first year writing cycle of a K through 12 music curriculum and performing arts. And that is led by Leah Stillman. And Leah has been in deep work with this group for 1.5 years. And you'll see the amount of curriculum that they have accomplished to date. So Leah's on a 1-year cycle. And then we have Sarah Sandora, and Sarah is leading a 2-year cycle that combines health and wellness and PE and counseling with a first run of a curriculum as well. So you'll see a refresh, you'll see a 1 year, you'll see 3 disciplines in 1 2-year cycle. So thank you all. I'm going to ask Carol and Ali to come up and join me at the wing table, the wingman. And Carol came last year and presented some of the work that was done in Illustrative with grade 6, and that was adopted by the board. And then as we started to learn the program, the new units started rolling forth. They've been working in tandem. This is Ali's first year as coach. Thank you, Board of Ed, for adding another mathematics coach. You will see that it has paid off in spades already, and it's only been year 1. High expectations for year 5. So welcome, Carol and Ali.
Thanks. All right, I'm moving it forward. So last year we came to you with the K through 6 revisions. Grade 6 adopted illustrative math, and what we're coming to you with this year is, did I not turn it on? Is we could move forward one.
I can't see it.
Oh, it moved.
I don't have my
There
reader.
it is.
This is why I'm here.
Yes, technical part. We're coming with grade 7 math and grade 8 pre-algebra. So last year we did a pilot with both of those grades using illustrative math, and then this year we fine-tuned it to meet the needs of our students and make it what we feel like is right for our kids. We had talked about this last year. Illustrative math, it's sort of summarized here on this chart. It's an inquiry-based program. It's student-centered. Our goal is that this program fosters deeper understanding, a deeper conceptual understanding, and better problem solving, while maintaining the conceptual, computational fluency that our students have always had. So we've had a good change, and then Ally's going to talk about next steps.
Thanks.
Like that, it's broken. We always have problems with this.
I'll do that one.
Thanks.
Okay. There,
Oops.
Oh,
I think so. It's just gonna-
I'll just do
Okay,
it. Just
thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next steps, yeah, the grade 7 pre-algebra and algebra 1 curriculum will be written this year and be ready for adoption in June of 2024. The algebra team already has plans to meet over the summer, both the Polson team and the CAN team, to develop and refine this curriculum. For instructional practices, so now that we have an updated curriculum for 3 out of the 5 courses, and we hope to finalize the other 2 by the end of next year, we're able to shift our focus from like strictly content to improving our instructional strategies and trying to incorporate different strategies now that we are more comfortable with the new curriculum. And all grades will continue to refine the learning plan by meeting in our professional learning communities, our PLCs. In those, we look at student data, we identify strengths and weaknesses and make any adjustments to the plan based on those findings. And then just a little bit about the coaching. So it's definitely a learning year for me this year. But one of the things that I did is I attended multiple professional development opportunities outside of the district, those focused on coaching, productive struggle, building thinking classrooms. And I was able to bring this information back to our team, and we continue to work to incorporate it into what we're currently doing. For next year, I'll still attend these professional development opportunities, and I'm going to pay specific attention to the vertical work, especially between Polson and CAN, so that we can focus on the overlap in the Algebra 1 curriculum.
So we thought we'd do questions from the board after each presentation, so you can be specific to the content. So I know you have a lot of questions for Matt. Oh, man. Yes. Yes, I got the others.
I'm so glad you're doing that, because I was gonna suggest that we ask questions in between. For the benefit of the board and the benefit of, you know, parents and families or anybody who'd be watching, when we look at this process of changing and adjusting the curriculum over time, what I take from it when I read, when we talk about a shift from content to instructional practices, you know, not saying that we're dropping content or the mechanics or whatever. But what I'm taking from that, and I'm asking, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I'm, you know, some feedback. What I'm seeing there is a shift in focus, deeper understanding, on being able to apply problems, on young people, because you presented before, being able to grapple with ideas versus just the mechanics of how do you do the math to come up with the right answer. Is that an accurate summation of the direction that this is going in?
Yes, so I think in the shift in the curriculum from the old, or the refresh to from the old curriculum to the new curriculum. If you're asking about what I was speaking about, is about the instructional strategies, I would say because it was a new program in the content. The way in which the content was presented and the kids had to deal with it was new for the teachers this year. And although we're all math teachers, the new approach to it was new for all of us. So what I meant was that that's where our focus was, like making sure we have this content right. And now the improving the instructional strategies is in illustrative math, they present like 5 or 6 different practices of how the kids can engage with the material, and we're going to start to incorporate those into everyday lessons.
Yeah, because as I read it,
Mhm.
part of what is presented is that there are activities with young people where they can find multiple ways to be able to come up with an answer.
Yes.
You know, and anybody, you know, who would be watching or is part of this, that's, you know, well, why do we need to change it? You know, math was fine when I was there, but it was, you know, I think largely a focus on the content. These are the mechanics. This is how you come up with the right answer. You know, the incorporation and the emphasis across all the curriculum on 21st century skills and application. You know, I'm seeing it reflected in what I read, and I just felt like it needed to be stated.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, 'cause I was just doing something the other day where I needed just an equation that I could get kids to do in a Vertex form. I can look that up online, right? There's a Vertex form calculator. So you just put the numbers in and it calculates it and shows you all the steps. So I still think it's a needed skill, just like I think long division, we need it. But then let's be honest, adults, we probably don't use it, but it is part of the process. But a bigger focus is on, here's a novel problem. Can you make an attempt at tackling it? We do a lot of group work. This year, we've been doing a lot on vertical boards. So just a whiteboard where 3 kids are standing, working together. And if they get stuck, they might take a look at somebody else's across the room, but the teacher stepping back and letting them grapple a bit more than we would have done in the past. In the past, we would have shown them a way and then given a similar but different problem and see if they could mimic it. And then we would be surprised when a month or 2 later, they couldn't do it. And we're hoping that a month or 2 later, they can still do it. And if they can't, that they can work towards it.
I have learned a lot through our vertical meetings, many years of Carol working with my mathematical non-thinking head. And I think I simplify it by saying it's a difference between when I went to school, I learned how to do math. And when kids go to school now, they're learning how to think mathematically, which is a big difference. Thank you for the education.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there any hope for older people?
Answer now.
That counts.
Keep an open mind. See the beauty in it.
Show her one of the apps that you hover over.
Right. Yeah, it is.
That was Alexa. Thank you very much.
Real quick, are you
Yep.
still finding that the teachers and coaches and students like and enjoy the new model that we're adopting?
I think there's been some challenges. I think
Yeah.
change does not come automatically. That's part of why we have a coach, so that we make constant change. I feel like we as teachers should constantly be reflective and say, what could I be doing better? And that's what we have both Ally and I for, is to keep moving everybody in the department always looking to improve just a little bit. So there's been some difficulty. It is not, like Ally said, it is not how we learned it. It's not how we've been teaching. And this isn't true. It's not complete upheaval, but there's little changes for people that have been very comfortable with what they're doing and also have been doing things very well too. Let me just put that in there too. We have had a lot of success. So now we're making a change to be even better on very good. That's hard to do sometimes.
And it also, you know, we say this all the time, it's a great program, it's not a perfect program.
Mhm.
So we're working to, you know, pull back in some of the wonderful things that we used to do and put the Madison spin on it. We're not going, you know, page by page.
And that's what our curriculum cycle is about. It's not just accepting commercial stuff,
Right.
but kind of Madisonizing it and over time finding the best way to deliver it to the students. And, you know, we certainly appreciate that.
Yeah.
Work you're doing.
Thank you.
So,
Can you take a question from the audience? So in general, how are you going to measure success? And then secondly, do we use the same summative tests that we've used in past years? So we can get apples to apples at the end of the year?
We are not using the exact same summative tests. We're doing a combination of assessments that came with illustrative math were often too short. So they would have 3 questions and we sort of get nervous about that because you get one wrong and you can do the math on that, right?
that's a wide bet. Now you're thinking that.
Yeah, businesses didn't have every topic that was covered in a unit. We also, I would say, like to throw a beginner question in there, that type of thing. It's a middle school. We want to help them out a little bit, but just get them going. So we are using some of our old, and then I would say the illustrative math assessments were harder. They were interesting questions. They a lot more words. That is new for us, just a lot more words. And so I would say how do we compare to the past? We could use SBAC, or we communicate with the high school. A lot of times that's my barometer of what do you need from us? So for example, in 8th grade pre-algebra, we had a little time at the end of the year. And so then I speak to them and said, what do you need from us? What was weak? And that's what we'll work on.
Thank you.
In our vertical meetings, we meet every month, monthly sometimes, in vertical meetings with elementary all the way through high school. And we have the same universal screens that we've had for the last several years. So we have that as well. And we have 3 years of data in a visualization tool to look at that score over time and how students are doing. So much data. Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Leah Stillman. Leah up, welcome Leah. You've met Leah before in this committee and you've heard about some of the foundational work. And I just want to remind the committee of the importance of how we do work in Madison. There's just so much pre-work that's done before we start reinventing curriculum. And part of that is a commitment to professional development. Part of that is a commitment to reimagining and supporting with materials and professional development, what that means. And part of that is giving time both in the school year and during the summers for the curriculum writing work. And Leah has a huge team to introduce. So I'm going to turn it over to Leah, but I did want to really just kind of bring to mind that this work started last summer and even before that. So it takes a lot of time from all of these people and willingness to sit around that table. So thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you all again tonight. Super proud to present tonight the just about full curriculum for the Performing Arts Department, first ever to be approved for Madison Public Schools and Board of Ed. But I want to introduce you to my team who took time out of their evening tonight. When I invited them via email, I was happily surprised and humbled to have them here. So I'm going to introduce them real quick.
Stand up when you're introduced.
Okay, Tara Lynn Bulick, Christine Murphy, Jessica Shaver, Barbara Soderberg, Harry Colin, Ron Soja, John Leonard, Will Card, and John Gage. So I just
They're used to applause.
it is kind of what we do. Before I start really diving into what we've created, as you can see, which is a huge list of really developed coursework. I will say that the buy-in from my team was positive and was really awesome. They really bought into the process. As we know, it's not an easy process to, first of all, be pulled from your classroom and from the work that you do with kids, because let's get real, this is why we're here, right, to work with the students in Madison. And even with all of that, they always came with open minds and really open to the process. And I feel like, and I know that the process, surprise, has really brought us even more together as a department. For them to be able to think vertically, and for myself also, we really worked on thinking vertically beyond our own building and beyond our own program. And that, I think, is going to take us into this next phase as we implement this curriculum and now follow through and using it next year, really to know, like, where does my piece fit into this puzzle, and to know this is where they're coming from, this is where they're going after me, if they are going somewhere after, right, depending on what level they're at. And it's really going to drive us into what's next, which is just awesome. So thank you all. So, okay, so as you can see, we have a full full list of courses that we've developed. In addition to the team here, I had Matt Price and Jenna Killen, who are not here this evening, working on the theater courses. We were able to develop 3 theater courses. At Folsom, we have a couple more that we're finishing up this summer, and which I'll go over later. And I believe that is 26 music courses from kindergarten music all the way up until our high school combined courses. So really the purpose, and I've spoken to this before, as you know, really the purpose of our program is to, I call it from exposure to immersion, right? So to really expose the students, starting in kindergarten, all about body, movement, finding their voice, different types of voices, you know, how to sing properly. And then we go even further into grades 2 and 3, where we introduce some instruments, classroom recorder. Before that, even K1 percussion instruments and handheld body instruments and real, like I said, a lot of movement and really feeling the music and understanding. We get up to 2, 3, we add recorder in addition to everything else we're doing. And now we've, as I had told you in my talk a few months ago, in 4th grade, we add ukulele for the classroom, and which they have piloted at Brown this year, and it's been super successful. And I have to say that the feedback that I've gotten from their informances from outsiders has been, oh, that ukulele is so cool that they added that. Which then we go into grade 5 into classroom xylophone, which was already a hit and continues to be, really giving the students a taste of what it's like to be in an ensemble. In 5th grade, they can also choose band or strings if they'd like to play an instrument. And then we get to 6th grade, now it becomes a choice. They can continue with their instrument. They can start one also if they did not choose to start one in 5th grade. Now they also have a choral experience as well. And in 7th grade, we add digital music, where the students are actually learning a little bit of piano skills and learning to compose their own music digitally. And that is for anyone. And they can continue those through 8th grade. And then when we get up to high school, really more immersive ensemble experiences, from your basic ensembles, which aren't really basic in Madison, as we know, and all the way up to some really advanced experiences for these students. And now, and I'll go into a little bit more about some of the new coursework that we've added. So I added this slide, which we've seen before. This shows you just a taste of what the courses were for this year's or last year's book at the high school and what they are for next year's. We've changed music theory 1 and 2 to theory and composition. And then we've added, which is exciting, AP music theory, which we're in the process of finishing up the approval process for that. So, and we have students registered for the fall for AP music theory. So I'm spoiler, there'll probably be a textbook adoption at some point this summer. So, and then we changed piano 1 and 2, which was traditional piano, to piano and digital audio, which is now taking piano and mixing it with some digital music skills. And we added intro to music technology, which I think has been kind of long overdue with the facilities that we have at hand, which are really awesome with the Mac Lab. And the hope is that when it's time to revise in a few years, we can even add to where we are. So our ensemble courses at the high school stay virtually the same, as they're really great experiences for the kids. And we just changed the name of show choir band to show band. And then on the orchestra end, we changed some of the names, thanks. String orchestra 9-10, same experience, we're calling it string ensemble. Sinfonietta is now orchestra, and the chamber orchestra is now chamber ensemble, which is our audition group. Each of the avenues, band, orchestra, and chorus have at least one audition group that the students can audition for, which is that period 7, that 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock time slot in the afternoon. Okay, so as we talked before, integrating technology into our music program. has been a real hit. These are some numbers as to what we're offering next year and what the numbers look like. Digital music on the 7th and 8th grade level, we cap out at 20 students. That's how many stations we have. That's the amount we can take. We'll have full sections for each grade level. And the students, like I said, some of them take music, some of them don't. So you really get a mix, but the curriculum is designed to differentiate depending on where the student is at musically to be able to pick up where they are and learn at their level. And when you get to the high school, these are 2 trimester courses, piano and digital audio. We'll be offering 2 classes, 1 trimester each, total of 25 students. And again, remember our lab is not unlimited. So, and our Intro to Music Technology, again, 2 trimesters, 2 classes, 1 trimester each, total of 27 students. So really happy with the numbers. We're able to fill 2 sections each of those, and hopefully we'll watch that grow as the students get excited about it and really start to talk to their peers, as we know that's how things work a lot of the time. So our theater program, right now we've developed some new names and more developed programs, really a progressive program at Polson. So right now they get a taste of it at Brown in their theater arts class, where they take 1 trimester of theater. And I'm sure things may or may not look different as we move forward with our buildings changing. So we've written a theater arts class for grade 6, which is for any student who chooses that as their performing art. Remember, when they get to Polson, they choose 1 elective in performing arts, either theater or music. So they have band, orchestra, chorus, or theater. So this is for any student in 6th grade. They're all for any student. When they get to 7th grade, we offer 2 classes, acting skills, which really is honing in on learning how to be an actor on the stage. Body movement, vocal projection, becoming a character. So we move from that, or they can choose, if they decide to stay in the theater strand, they can choose Intro to Musical Theater, which is an immersive experience where they're really learning about the history of musical theater through performing. And they will also participate both of these, all 5 of these classes in a live performance for the community as kind of their cap to the end. In 8th grade, we go even deeper into acting for the theater. So now we take beyond just the acting skills, personal acting skills, but acting skills within a production. So really a little broader spectrum. And then they can continue if they want to, or take it on their own, the 2nd level of musical theater, which is where in Intro to Musical Theater, in the 1st unit, they're studying genres of within musical theater, different generations. When they get to the 8th grade musical theater, they're actually studying a musical theater composer and what those shows look like. And they're actually going to be acting out some of that composer's work. So I thought I would show you, it's kind of hard to see. You have your binocular, okay. I wanted to kind of show you a little bit about what our progression looks like in terms of performance-based rubrics. And then after this, I'm going to go into what they look like on the profile of graduate rubric. If you look, these are for our ensemble-based classes, which grade 5 is our theater. It's our foundation of our ensemble program in band and strings. At least we add vocal in middle school. And as you can see, we start, my readers, we start, and that's not going to help. So we start with 4 basic skills. They're either at level or they're emerging. And we feel like in the performance-based progression, that's really the way to go. We're looking to see if kids are meeting the mark in each grade level. And then they take it a step further with the profile of a graduate and into some more extensive thinking and skill work. In grade 5, we start with 4 basic skills. We get to the middle school, we add, thank you. So in grade 5, we start with things as simple as posture, instrument position, note accuracy, intonation, which is how they sound when they play, right? Rhythm and tone. We get to middle school, we add to that articulation, which is how you attack your notes, where the sound comes from, and how you're actually making your sound, and which is expression. And we take the notes and the tempo and the rhythm and the posture, and one of the big conversations we've had, and Gail and I have had this conversation, well, when do they master the skill? When do they master the skill of tempo? And they don't. That's the thing that's so unique about the performing arts is even myself as a professional, when I go home and practice, I'm still working on tempo. I'm still working on how fast my music is, what I sound like, all these little things just at a different level. So it's really taking that skill and bumping it up a notch. And we get up to the high school and we add even more in terms of phrasing and expression and again, articulation, but we're not just talking about staccato and legato, short notes or long notes. Now we're really talking about even more developed skills within that skill set. So we can move on now to I thought I'd just give you a little taste. This first one is how we measure collective intelligence, which is, you'll see in the diagram later on, one that we hit on a lot as you can imagine in music, as a lot of what we do is collective work. And we move from a grade 2, where we're looking at how the student is singing, right, within the group, to do they have the proper posture, the articulation, is their breathing correct in the group, right? And then we get to grade 5, general music class, and now beyond that, have they contributed to the ensemble by performing their part? And then they go even further, are they helping others? So now we're really building that skill set. We get up to the high school, and now as it relates to an ensemble complex, I perform my part with proper balance and blend within my ensemble, and I maintained appropriate tempo. In addition, I led the group with my musicality. So you're really showing the growth within that capacity. So with the theater program, we look a lot at self-awareness. This is another big one, right? They're really learning to sometimes be another character, but within themselves. And I just showed the progression from 6th grade up to 8th grade between basic projection and 6th grade. And what does that vocal control look like? These are skills that they're going to cross over into, use as crossovers into other things, public speaking. It's going to take them beyond into whatever they choose to do later on. And then basic character development, grade 6, to really the artistic acting skill that goes in that character. So even just from 6th to 8th grade in the theater program, you're seeing a pretty drastic developmental phase. So.
Now, are the students self-assessing and monitoring their progress against these rubrics?
Yes. And one of the ways that we design the curriculum is that each level has rubrics that the students will also be using as indicators for themselves to say, am I hitting this mark? Am I here? Am I here? And then it's the same or a very similar rubric that's assessing them. So they know exactly what they're up against and they know exactly where they should be. So that's one thing when we designed the curriculum that was huge for us, was that the students could see where they need to be or where they're supposed to be and what's at level, how can I get to complex? And they really have those visual pieces. So absolutely. This slide shows where we are in terms of hitting the capacities. As you can see, some are a lot more developed than others. And again, we have a few more courses that will be developed over the summer. And here we go. So this summer we'll be finishing up the Olson music courses, grade 6, 7, and 8 chorus. At the high school, we'll be spending 2 days training with an expert in the field of music technology who's come and worked with us already, Barb Friedman, and she'll be in for 2 days in the lab with us in July, and then we'll be finishing writing that curriculum with that higher level of knowledge and skill set with the high school crew, as well as the theory and composition, which is like your theory 1 course. And then in the theater, we've already started. We just have to polish the 2 8th grade classes and get them ready to review, which hopefully this will be for August. So, and this slide's great because you can see the end success as of our high school groups. You have up there, actually, that's a recent photo from the Memorial Day Parade. Mr. Gage and his band last week. Down on the bottom left is this year's vibe, which Mr. Soja directs, and on the right, you can see Miss Bulick conducting the orchestra, so that's where we're at, and it's been a great year. I've learned a lot, and I just have such an amazing team, and very grateful. So thank you for the opportunity.
Questions for Leah or the team? I'm putting you all on the spot. I know you well enough.
I just have a question about finance. So when it comes to all the different groups, how do we maintain all?
Sure, so a lot of it is building level budgets. Depending on how much coursework is going on, depends on what the budget looks like. Some of our extra groups, not only do we have a really supportive booster club at the high school, in more than one booster club, because Vibe has their own funding source. We have a wonderful community that really gives and donates beyond what the budget allows us, right? So
Some of them are a lot.
oh yes, between costumes and hiring choreographers and artists and everything that goes into it. There's a lot that goes beyond that.
And I don't know if you were on the board yet, but we did a significant amount of purchasing a few years ago on instruments, about $90,000.
Yeah. Maintaining all the instruments.
Yes, it's costly. They are a costly group. Like, and you know, with the creation, they are with the creation of new courses when they're in an initiation phase, like this, like the xylorhythms are funded through my office and my supply company. Chris's ukuleles, you know, came out of that same supply. So there's board provisions as well. And I think, John, the band uniforms, wasn't that like a big ticket item when I first started? That was
It's coming up again.
that is like a significant. I'll never forget the feathers and how much they were. I was like, really?
So we would support as a board. And then when it comes to like the instruments, like for the kids, they rent.
Most of them rent. Some of the bigger instruments we provide because they are beyond the rent
Right.
cost like an initiative. And then we have within our budget, I know at Polson and at the high school, we have different line items, some for repairs, some for construction.
And how do you decide how much is allocated to each of the different group, or how do we decide?
They're pretty vocal as a group. I think they weigh in. Distribution is also by, when we did the initial instrument purchasing, was by auditing the age of the instruments and prioritizing, you know, it's always a prioritizing. There were still some additional requests that I funded this year. And I know that there's going to be additional requests after this and instruments age. And, you know, we do our best to keep up with it, but sometimes like an instrument can be $10,000, you know, and that's one instrument for one program. So we are.
And the transportation for the different groups too.
Right, that's another line item.
Do you have enough cowbells?
Never enough. Fast talking reporter.
I just want to thank everybody here who's helped out with this curriculum development because not only do the arts provide their own social emotional learning kind of break and development for kids and self-awareness and teamwork and individual development, but also I want to thank you all for keeping it like fresh and enticing and adding, especially in the areas of technical music production and theater. I just think that colleges are also looking at this kind of self-expression and really taking notice of the kids who, it's almost like having, 6 years of a language. If you have, 4 or 5, 6 years with an instrument or acting or singing or whatever. I just think it really, in our community, which is not only sports crazy, but also creativity crazy. We have a lot of people who are really into the arts, and they really try to get their kids focused in that direction. I just think it's fantastic that we are shedding an older curriculum in favor of one that's more interesting, more advanced, and will suit our kids better who want to pursue careers in the arts. So thank you.
Not a question, but
Sorry.
a statement. You and your team are to be commended on this work. We pushed back on you through various steps, and what we really asked of you was to find that balance between real skill development, but also maintaining the intrinsic musicality and acting and theater in their life, and finding that balance, this vertical curriculum. And I like, the term exposure to immersion. The immersion goes very far, but what we wanted was for our young people to come out of this district with music and theater and the arts being part of their life, not just part of their high school curriculum. And, I think you've gone a long way in setting the framework for that. So I know it's hard work, and it is comprehensive. And, there's 72 pages in this document, and I've read every one.
I appreciate that.
But the thought that went into it is clear, and you clearly embrace the message we were giving, which is, yeah, we expect kids to become experts. We want them to have the arts be part of who they are. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to invite our last presentation of the evening, Sarah Sandura. And Sarah is going to follow up on prior presentations on the wellness approach to the curriculum. And I'm going to interrupt us if we get too close to that 6:30 mark, because I know we have to be upstairs for retirement recognition. But I asked Sarah to also go in and present the philosophy that you've heard so much about. This is the script that goes with it.
Thank you. So yes, in the interest of time, I will try to speed it up a bit so we have a chance for questions at the end. But I'm so excited to present this integrated wellness course adoption, at least the first installation of it. I'll see you again next June for the second installation. But Stephen, I really appreciated what you were just saying about when our students leave these doors and their lifelong pursuits. And that was at the heart of so much of what we did with this wellness curriculum. As you know, it's an integration, as Gail said, of social work and counseling and health and PE. And we aimed to focus on the whole child and their lifelong pursuits of health, wellness, physical activity, but also as part of the larger community, to create a school community that is inclusive and kind and caring and respectful of others. And I hope that you see that with what I present tonight. So if we can please go to the next slide. These are the courses that I'm putting forth tonight. I spoke with you in December and went into a good deal of detail about the social work. As you can see, we've developed many units. That is complete. So if you don't mind, I'd like to just focus on physical education next and jump right into that. So you also saw the two graphics on the right-hand side of the screen back in December. So what those highlight is the top one shows where PE and physical health were in the high school for years prior. And on the bottom slide is our transition year for next year, which is a little bit different and not what you will ultimately see, because we have to honor what our students are currently doing in PE, and sometimes they're already on a certain track. So for instance, current ninth graders are in health and PE for grade 9. So they need to take the next one for grade 10. And then when they reach junior year, they'll have some electives. But our current 8th graders coming into 9th grade are going to have a choice for the PE class that they take. And this was for a couple of reasons. Number one, the teachers felt very strongly that they wanted to elevate the health content and make it its own course, because there's really important information that's delivered in that course. And they didn't want it to just tag on to PE. So that was one of our goals, and student choice was another one of our goals. So to that end, what we have done is we pulled out health from PE and made a 9-10 health class and an 11-12 health class. And we made a 10 and 11 PE electives, which we will be developing. That's in the second installation. And coming up next year are our 2 9th grade PE classes. You can see that they are personal fitness and recreational games. So when developing the ideas for these courses, we spoke to the students. I sat up in the bridge over here with Leah, who is doing the same thing for music, and we did a focus group, so kids came and spoke with us. But then we decided we wanted even more input. So we had over 200 students take an online survey to tell us what they liked about the health curriculum they currently have, what they don't really like, and same with health and PE. And so from that, we took a look at the survey results and the types of students that the teachers have seen in their PE classes. And we tried to gear 2 courses to 2 types of students. The first one, personal fitness, is for that student who really enjoys the individual fitness component. It's goal setting, it's learning how to be physically active for your entire life, but without having to be necessarily in a competitive group or working with others and always having to try to find a group. And then Rec Games is much more collaborative and much more strategic. And we talk about ways to be social and respectful of others. So those are the 2 choices that our 9th graders will have coming into next year. If we can go to the next slide, please. This is the health. Thank you. So some of the changes to health. So the health sequence has changed a little bit, as I indicated before. Grades 6 through 8, the sequence is still the same because we are bound by the parameter put forth at Polson. So all students in grades 6 through 8 get 1 trimester of health, and it meets every other day for 1 trimester. The major change to that is it's now more skill-based, which is what our entire curriculum is trying to do, which you can see in the Healthy and Balanced framework. And then I said we also have the 9 and 10 health course at the high school and the 11 and 12 health course as well. The goal for the 11th and 12th health course is to build upon what was done in 9-10 and also keep an eye to where our students are going after high school, because it's different. The delivery and the content is different in health 9-10 as it is in 11-12 because they're different students, and we want to honor that. We also have, again, the skill based through content. So we lead every unit with the skill, advocacy, for example, and then we teach content using that advocacy skill. Another thing I want to draw your attention to is the QPR training. As you may know, we currently have that in 9th grade health. We are now also we're keeping it in 9-10 health, but we're bringing it to Polson as well. And this is done through Madison Youth and Family Services. What QPR training is it's suicide prevention training. And we are so fortunate to have had the support and influence of Madison Youth and Family Services. So in our vertical team discussions, this came up as, why are we waiting until high school to give this? But we also want to be mindful of student development. So through many meetings with Susan Quinn, Misty Hartman at Polson, and Catherine Hart, and also Melissa Boletto and the entire Madison Youth and Family Services team, it was decided that providing a developmentally appropriate QPR training to 7th graders in a health class where they will have at least one health class devoted to debriefing on this heavy topic was the best fit for implementation of this. So we're actually really pleased to put that forward for our middle schoolers as well. I think we're ready for the next slide. Counseling and social work, I will just touch on this a little bit because I presented so much in December. One of the main goals is to ensure that all students in the school know who the support services are, not just the students who have specific services. So in the very first lesson for every grade, K through 12, students are introduced to who can help them at the school. I'm not going to speak too much on this, but I did want to just give kudos to the hand counseling department, because one of the things that we added to the curriculum just this year, later, it was probably December when we did it, was a junior sessions event that brought in people from the community and sort of went through post-secondary plans for the students. And students were able to select the workshops that they wanted to. They can choose two. I believe they chose an advisory, which is a means for delivering some of this. And they went to all of these different sessions, and I didn't know it was happening, but my daughter, who's a junior, came home. It's like, we had the best day. Like, this was so helpful. She bought the FISC college guide that a returning student had suggested, and she was really into it. So it was fantastic. And there were so many moving parts to it. I didn't think there was a chance for it to get in this year, but they pulled it off, and it was a really great thing for our students. So we just quickly go to the next one. So when I came in December, during the Q&A session, there are some questions about where specifically some topics fell in our units. And I wish I could recall them all off of the top of my head, but there's a lot going on in there. So I made this graphic. This is just specific direct instruction that we have in our units thus far. We still have a lot to develop. And really, I would just like to emphasize that inclusion, caring, respect for differences is something that is emphasized every step of the way, but is directly taught here in this graphic that you can see. And I also wanted to bring up that in addition to what's up here, K through 8 does start with hello in their school every year, which is very an inclusive anti-bullying message. The high school then takes Say Something Week, and that's actually done through a club with Erica Brown. And they do that, and we focus a lot on the reporting at the high school. So we do some of the direct instruction at the lower grades, and then tackle some of the application of it at the higher grades, and some of the more sensitive topics, suicide, substance abuse. We focus that on the upper grades as well. And we've also incorporated a good deal from Sandy Hook Promise and the Scarlett Lewis Foundation Choose Love into some of our units as well. Here's what we have. Oh, here's the profile of a graduate. You can't see it with the closed captioning, but we have hit every single capacity. And we focus on, let's see, analyzing, self-awareness, and decision-making are what we landed on for the most, which I think is really accurate for what we're trying to do with the wellness curriculum, be it goal setting or at the lower grades, identifying feelings, respect for others, and making health enhancing decisions. And then moving forward, we have K through 8 PE, high school electives for PE 10, 11, and K through 5 health. I think we should. Yeah, I'm worried about time. So I do want to leave room for questions. It's all right.
Well, I expressed this before when you did your prior presentation, but this is probably like right up there with academics now in education and with the level of crisis that students are facing. So this work is amazing work, and thank you for what you and your team have done. We as a board are looking forward to hopefully funding for positions that are coming on the ESSER grants next year for social work and interventionists. And I think that's important as well. And thanks.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to do this. I don't know of any other district in the state or maybe even country who has really taken such a targeted approach to it. And it's needed and welcome and very much appreciated.
I also. I also appreciate that you're willing to take some risks in favor of the outcomes we want, you know. The QPR training for middle schools, I can understand where you might anguish a little bit about, you know, where does it fit and where is it age appropriate, but you know, the realities of the world, these are skill sets that are useful in our community, so you take a risk and, you know, as a member of the board, I support that
Thank
because
you.
I think it's, you know, it's called for.
Yes, unfortunately.
So do we have any members of the public online?
No.
Any other questions? And thank you so much for your
So what we have
presentation.
here is three of the most important groups.
Yeah.
That's what I.
Can we add science to that?
I was-
I was science person.
But I know it's evident in the presentation, but we lean on our teachers in this development of curriculum. We know that they're experts and we give them professional development to keep them engaged and with us and growing for 35 years of their career. And they develop the work that you see and they pull from the best of the programs. And that's why we don't purchase and employ. They really do the hard work and thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. all.
Congratulations.
And then I would.
But I would also say, every time we have a meeting where curriculum is being presented and the process of development is put forth, it all comes back to you.
Yeah.
This is your work.
Yeah.
This is your leadership. This is your, as a superintendent's vision of what curriculum should be in this district. So.
I was just gonna say a quick thank you, because I know this work happened over 12 months too, so it would happen April break, it happened over Christmas break, it happened over all the different holidays you could think of, Mary Ann. And
Excuse me.
but you know, thank you, summer, you know, a really good start of the second last year, school year ended, and now this is a culmination of all that work, so thank you.
And it's a journey of courage too for them. They open their minds to re-examining what we've been doing and really taking a lot of risk, as you said. So it's a lot of courage in this room. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good work.
For your support.